PR Connections Radio presents
Hi, and welcome to Breaking the Silence, Finding the Courage to be Heard, the podcast where we turn quiet fears into confident voices. And I'm your host, Gail Larson. Now, over the last few episodes, we talked about fear, confidence, the body, voice, the stories that we tell ourselves. But today, we're bringing all that into the rooms that really matter the most. The ones that makes our stomachs drop the moment that we walk in. The rooms where the titles are bigger and the ones that make us so uncomfortable. And we suddenly question, do we actually belong in these rooms? So this episode is called Speaking Up in Rooms That Intimidate You, because silence often isn't about lacking courage. It's more about navigating power, presence, and perception. So today I have with me Jesse Oakley III. How you doing, Jesse?
Hello there, Gail. I'm doing fantastic. It is great to be here on this wonderful podcast. And hello there, hi people.
Hey, why don't you tell us just a little bit about yourself and how speaking up is relevant to what you do?
Well, I'd be more than happy to, and hopefully this won't take the whole podcast episode. My name is Jesse Oakley III, and so you may see me here on PR Connections. I am the host of the Sunday morning chat series with Jesse Oakley III, but wait, there's more I do. I am also a past international director for Toastmasters International, an organization that develops communication and leadership skills for the past 101 years. And I've been an international director from 2022 to 2024, and I got a chance to be a member of Toastmasters for 24 years and actually communicated, whether it is in community rooms or big audiences. Communication and leadership always go key and hand in hand. And also, I am an associate engineer for the Nevada Department of Transportation. I've been at that place for, I think, about 26, 27 years. I'm 3 years away from retirement myself, and I've been a part of tours where I get a chance to give visitors a tour of the laboratory, as well as be a part of news broadcasts, as well as news recordings, explaining about what we do at the laboratory. So when it comes to those formations of podcasts and Toastmasters and my day job, communication is key and is quite helpful.
Oh, absolutely. And I'm sure our audience that's listening out there, they're listening to all of your wealth of experience, and they're probably thinking, well, why do I have Jesse on here? He doesn't have any problems with communicating or any kind of fear about public speaking, but there's so many different elements that goes into just walking into that room, wouldn't you say?
Exactly. And as I'll tell you this much, before I got to the place right here, right now, I had my beginning moments, and that is where everybody has their starting points. And for myself, let's go back to 1995. I was a shy, nervous, young civil engineering student at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. That's right, I am a running rebel. And I was able to give a presentation back in my day. And when I gave a presentation, imagine this. A guy with a big flat top fro, looking like this. And I imagine the glasses. Imagine the high water jeans that would put Steve Urkel to shame.
Oh, goodness.
Exactly. And I was giving my presentation and I was feeling very nervous and very sweatiness till the sweat got all the way to my flat top fro down to my high water jeans. And I realized that there was a professor there, the founder of the engineering school, Herb Wells. He said, "Gee, Jesse," as he looked at me up and down all my sweatiness and told me, "That was an interesting presentation that you gave. I think I have something that might help you out." And it was a speechcraft. And what basically speechcraft was like a 8-week version of Toastmasters. And that's how I was invited to Toastmasters. And when I took my first speechcraft session, I was able to find another passion I love with not only crunching numbers, but also giving speeches. So it took me a while to get into it step by step, bit by bit, moment by moment. But I turned that moment where I was all that sweatiness turned into sticking and staying the course and actually being where I am right now. So yes, I did have my beginnings, and my beginnings was sweaty. It was shaky. It was nervous. It was all of those things that are out there until to get to a point where I am right now. So for anyone that's out there starting and wanting to break that silence, I was there too. Another key thing is you got to take those steps, those many steps, and those many steps can equal to a big journey, like what I experienced right here, right now.
Absolutely. That is so important. And even with the fact that you've had so much experience and with me, even though I come on here every week and I have speaking engagements and so forth, that sweatiness still comes because when you get excited about what you do and you care about what you do, then if you don't have that sense of nervousness, then chances are you're not necessarily prepared. So, yeah.
Exactly. And I will tell everybody this when it comes to doing the first time at anything, I have three words to share with you when it comes to doing anything the first time. And those three words are dare to stink. You
I
dare to
love
stink
it.
and do everything because you don't see babies learning how to walk and doing a somersault right off the first step. No. You don't see someone trying to learn how to sing and they go into Luciano Pavarotti. Not a chance. For each of us have our beginning, we have our stinkiness, we have our stinkage. And after the stinkage, you have two choices to make. One, you can just forget it and quit, or you can just ask yourself, what can I make myself to be better after the stinkage? And for those people that actually have to ask the latter, they're able to succeed compared to someone that says, forget this, I'm not doing this again. Yes, we all stink. We all are able to do that. But if you learn how to be better from the stinkiness, then you'll be a great success too. So dare to stink, happy people. Dare to stink.
That's awesome. And you know what? That sounds like it could be the perfect Toastmaster speech. I don't know if you've ever used that before, but that would be great.
Maybe a little bit.
Well, maybe I'll have to steal that from you.
Go ahead.
So, now this month is International Women's Month, which followed in February, as we know, is Black History Month. And, I was actually on a podcast earlier that was recognizing voices of women. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I know when we walk into different rooms, there are different elements that plays into that intimidation, whether it's gender or age or race or physical attributes that we perceive about ourselves. How does that play into the feeling of intimidation for you?
I tell you what, it's all in the best answer I can give to you is all who you surround yourself with, the people that encourage you to be your best. Yes, it is International Women's Month, and I was grateful to have so many influential women in my life to actually be a part of the success that's here right in this area. The first one I will tell you is none other than my beautiful wife, Dana Wall Oakley. She is a wonderful, amazing individual, a wonderful sidekick, and someone who I met 20 years ago at a radio show where we were both in Toastmasters. And from that point to the radio show, to the time we went out, to the time where we were married for almost 14 years, she has been a truly amazing sidekick. And she was one of the supportive people that was able to help me get from point A to point B. And with that being said, hi, honey, I love you. Mwah. And we do have that going. And another person that's been quite helpful and influential is my mom, Sally Oakley. My mom is a country girl from Virginia, and she was able to help raise yours truly to be the person that I am, learning about the importance of education, the importance of speaking up for yourself, the importance of standing up for things that don't go well, and also being able to adapt to situations where it doesn't go to your way and how to be better from it. So my mom, rest her soul, has been a truly a phenomenal person. And another person I'd like to share with you happens to be my grandmother's. One grandmother is Naomi Mayfield, who was a farm girl from Virginia, and the other one was from Flora Etherington, who was a farm girl from Arkansas. And those down deep root spirits of what they'd have to bring to the table has inspired me to actually be where I am. And of course, I have three other sisters, so I am the only son out of those four kids. And Of course, I got to mention the three other sisters that are on this area. Renee Reyes, I got to mention her. I got to mention Rita Riddick. I also got to mention Crystal Oakley. Now, they're all in different age ranges, and either way, I had to learn a great deal from them, and they also helped me become a success in what I'm able to learn. Whether it is learn to do one section or go the totally opposite direction, each one of them has taught me how to become a better individual, being the only brother that is in the family. And with those three sisters, my mom, my grandmothers, and Dana Wall Oakley, and of course I will add one more, my mother-in-law Phyllis Wall, who is also a distinguished Toastmaster. She has also been a dynamic presenter and able to give me some good crucial feedback to actually become a better communicator in that environment. So when you talk about good people and good communities, you always have to have a good set amount of people. And in the honor of Women's Day, I will honor those fabulous women in my life. So if you're seeing this video right now, I would like to say two words. Thank you. Whether you're here on earth or here in spirit, I will say thank you very much for being the women that you are.
Wow, I love it. What an incredible tribute. Towards the end of your podcast, you're always asking your guests, who would you like to thank? And you just did such a fantastic job in recognizing just all of those people that have really come together in different periods of your life that have made you the person and the wonderful speaker that you are, that you always show up in the best way possible. And that's so important, especially if you're listening out there, that we don't do what we do in a vacuum. We do what we do in many rooms of people that just help us and encourage us. And knowing that you have that encouragement really does help a person to become less intimidated about speaking. It's just so many times people are saying, I could never do this. But with that encouragement, especially with your mom and your mother-in-law as well, who mother-in-laws never get the credit. They never do. They always get the jokes. They never get the credit. So when we think about those rooms, have you ever had the thought when you walked into a room, you began to feel like, do I actually belong here? Did I make a mistake in taking on this challenge?
Well, I get that many times before I step on the stage, especially whether it is in a room, so like a basic Toastmasters room, or whether it's a stage of 1,000 people across the halfway around the world in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, or maybe on a bigger stage, somewhere similar to that. I ask myself, what am I doing here? Am I the right individual? And those doubts keep sneaking in right there, and those doubts may want to have you pull away and just say, maybe I'm not the man for this type of job. But no matter what you do, no matter how you feel on the inside, sooner or later you got to jump into task and jump into the action. And for me, think about jumping into the action. Despite all the doubts that are there, I would say, hey, what's going to happen? What have you got to lose? Yes, it may not go too well. It's a learning lesson. Or it may go well and you may get some positivity. So for me, I have a certain mindset that I go out there despite all the doubts. It's not the win lose. It's not the lose lose. It's not even win win. It is win or learn. That way, if it goes well, you win. If it doesn't go well, you learn. That way, if you're able to win or you're able to learn, you really never lose. And that is the mindset I took to me when it comes to working as an engineer at NDOT, or being the international director for Toastmasters, or being even the Red Cross. I'm a volunteer engagement leader at the Red Cross, and I learned through that environment. Or also getting a chance to do this own podcast, because there are certain times when I was doing this podcast in the Sunday morning chat series, I wonder if this is the right environment, is this the right person, is this the right guest? But no matter what happens, it's always a learn and learn process. So that way I could actually adapt to what hasn't worked and actually become better from it. So remember, Hattie people, it's win or learn. If you have that win or learn mindset, you really don't lose. So to keep that mindset, Hattie people.
Oh, that's so important to remember. A lot of times people, they don't want to go into a certain situation because they're afraid of failure. But failure, like you said, it opens you up to the opportunity to learn from that failure. So failure is never an ending. Failure is a new beginning. So
Yeah,
that's perfect. I'm glad
yes,
that you brought that up.
yes, I agree. And again, FAIL, first attempt in learning. That's what, if you can see the first attempt in learning and failure, then you'll be better off than where you were when you began.
That's a great mnemonic to remember that. That is fantastic. And that reminds me, what it was like last month. I'm whipping through the channels. I'm one of those that still I don't necessarily stream all the time, but I'm going through the channels, and there you were on the news speaking about your job and the importance of that. How did that come about?
Oh my, I gotta tell you this much. Actually, our PR person, who's named Kelsey, she's a PR person over at NDOT, and she heard about what I was doing for speaking and me and myself being a Toastmaster. And actually, she also heard from other co-workers about the tours I gave at the laboratory, and she gave me this wonderful opportunity. I actually being a part of a news broadcast, and first she said, "Hey Jesse, I have people from Fox 5 that are here on this news channel that I'd like to do the interview of this laboratory. How would you like to do that?" And with one word, I say, "Yes, it would be my pleasure." And once we able to run down the details about the time, the location, and have some materials set up for testing to show what the machines actually do, then we were able to actually get it started. And then when Kelsey came in to the laboratory along with the Fox 5 camera crew, they were getting ready to do taping and everything. And I was basically there just to show what I do and what I'm able to do, and actually what some of the machines are able to test, because we have some machines that are very test worthy. Some of the tests will take either a few minutes up to 2 days on the testing. So I was able to go into different parts of the laboratory and explain what I was able to do, and obviously do it with great confidence. So that opportunity right there was started off with the PR person at NDOT asked me if I'm able to do this because of the word of mouth that I was able to do for NDOT prior to this whole recording.
Well, that was incredible. And I had learned so much about not only what you do, but the importance of what you do in your environment. And that it also brings to mind the fact that you just never know when an opportunity is going to present itself. I mean, in the most odd situations or where you least expect it, someone's going to say, maybe you need to speak, to our audience about XYZ. Um,
And Gail, in the wise words of the classic rap duo Criss Cross, you gotta jump in order to the opportunity.
that's exactly right. Jump, don't get me going.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
you gotta jump, otherwise the opportunity that you miss will be wiggity whack.
oh, goodness. Yep, I know a lot of our listeners out there can definitely relate to that. Um, my husband Jeff and I were in a sporting event. We're big Aces fans as well, and we ran into someone who was a part of the Southern Nevada Retired Teachers Association. And so we started talking about what I do and that kind of thing. And then next thing you know, she says, "You have to come down and speak." So that's another speaking engagement that just came out of nowhere, that I'm going to go in there and, talk about what I do and different things as well. So you just never know, the most random moments may present something that you can benefit from and the people who listen to you can benefit from. So, considering we do a lot of the similar things in terms of Toastmasters and putting on podcasts and so forth, have you ever been in a situation where a person that you are talking with, they were more silent than they wanted to be? Their silence might have, affected the impact that they could make because they chose to be silent. So, what does it look like when, you choose to be silent?
And you know what? If you choose to be silent, that is okay. And I'd like to share with you another piece of wisdom that is out there. And there are three no's that you can focus on. And when I say three no's, I mean KNOW, not NO, not NOSE, but KNOWs. First, you got to know yourself, know what type of speed you're going on, and know what type of challenges that you do have, and know who you are. And then you have to know the other person that might be silent, the other person that that excels in being silent and actually do the work there and get a chance to banter back and forth with that person. And the other one would be to know the chessboard at hand. Now, the chessboard is a metaphor to what is out there in the game. What type of piece you have on the board, whether it be a pawn, a knight, a rook, a bishop, a king, or a queen. You got to remember what type of boards on the chessboard and see how it adapts to where you and the other person is. That way, if you know yourself and you know the quiet person that you're working with that likes to be quiet, then you could actually have a victory between you and that other person. Just realize that, okay, we can work together despite the different environments that we do face. If you don't know yourself, if you know yourself, but you don't know the other person, then that's a 50-50 chance of success because you know who you are, but you don't know who the person is that you're working with. And then there's the other no is if you don't know yourself, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know the other person, then guess what? Catastrophe will happen. And you'll be saying checkmate faster than your head will spin. So the thing is, you got to know yourself and who you're working with and know the person that you're dealing with and know the situation at hand, a la the chessboard. If you're able to master those three in a triangle format, then you can actually work together and hopefully can get lots accomplished being able to know what you're able to know.
Wow, I love that metaphor and the visual of the triangle. It's know yourself, know the person that you're working with, and know
The
the
chessboard,
situ-
the situation.
the chessboard itself. Yes. So when people think about that chessboard, I know this is going to be memorable. People think about strategy. You know, a lot of people they don't necessarily want to play chess because it takes so much thought and intrigue and strategy compared to, let's say, the checkerboard. Because with the checkerboard, all the pieces pretty much move, back and forth in the same way. And you might feel that you could win at that game because you don't necessarily have to think that hard. And for all you checker players out there, I'm not saying it's not a difficult strategic game. I'm just saying that the strategy that is involved in chess really can help you in life, just like Jesse has explained with his triangle. I love that. And I plan on using that, I think, in some of my talks that are coming up as well, because it's just such a strong visual. So for someone that is not ready to, let's say, take the floor, so to speak, what are some small, manageable ways to begin using your voice?
Well, the one small strategy you can learn from using your voice is to look at someone that you might inspire to be and aspire to be, and take notes of what that person's able to do. That is one thing that you can do is just take notes and learn from. I'll just use it this way: if you learn something that you learn from someone that you aspire to be, take those notes, learn from it, and also adapt to that environment which makes you feel comfortable in your style. You can actually do that. However, if you take notes from someone who's doing something that you don't want to do, you can still take those notes. Actually, I will give you the leadership type of direct leadership. There are two types. There are types of leadership that's direct leadership, someone that you know in person. You can take notes from that person. There's the indirect leadership, someone that you probably won't meet for a while. For example, those people that you see in books and podcasts or anywhere else, you can take notes from them and basically attribute that what they do and basically make it somehow your style. That's the indirect leadership. And the third type of leadership is reverse leadership. That is where if you see someone that you do not like or you do not approve of what they're doing, you can take notes, but do the reverse opposite of what they're doing. So that way if you're not a fan of this person and you basically just take everything they're doing something that's questionable, you can just write those notes, but do the complete opposite of what they're doing. That way, you have the three types of leadership. You have the direct leadership, you have the indirect leadership, and you have the reverse leadership. So if you're able to focus on those leaderships, then you'll be able to do what you need to do to be better and figure out your style. You'll be also amazed with what you're able to do with direct, indirect, and reverse.
That is fantastic advice, because we have so many opportunities to learn and then to take what we've learned and apply it to how we're going to show up the next day. And, I think in terms of Toastmasters, when I first started, and I've only been in Toastmasters maybe 1/10 of the amount of time that you have been in Toastmasters. But for every week, for every month, for every year that I'm in Toastmasters, I'm always learning from those leaders like yourself that are out there that just show up in very different ways. And I am always taking notes. And the other thing about being in Toastmasters as well and being influenced by so many leaders is that you always have an opportunity for feedback. I mean, feedback is core to improving your communication skills and just learning from those leaders and taking what you hear from others that are your peers that are speaking as well. And like you say, that indirect, feedback that you get just by listening and being able to apply.
Ain't that the truth? Because the key thing about learning is all about the jar that you have, and each person have 8 billion. Actually, one person represents a jar, and we have 8 billion jars that are in this world. And some people have their jars open like this. Other people have the lid on their jar. For the people that say, "Oh, I know this or I know that, I know up, I know down, I know you," basically, I like to call them the know-it-alls. The know-it-alls will have the jars right here closed, because the key thing about the closed jar is you can't get any other learning ideas right through that jar because it's thick. And that way, if your person wants to learn more and be advanced, guess what? They have to pop open the jar and actually have as much as they can learn, like they go right into the jar. And the more that you put into your jar, the more that you'll be able to learn. And sometimes the learning can come in streams, others comes drop by drop. Either way, when you have that chance to have that learning opportunity, it feels drop by drop, moment by moment, then you'll be in a full environment, in a full jar, compared to that know-it-all that has that jar closed. And when you have the knowledge inside that jar and that jar closed, it can evaporate. And if you have nothing that's there, and if you have that jar in the amount of time where it evaporates, guess what you have in here? Nothing. So it's always important to have that lid open and ready to go and ready to learn.
That's awesome. And when I think about the thought of what's in there evaporating,
Mm-hmm.
the visual came to mind, especially when you're dealing with or influencing young people.
Oh, yes.
Having a filter, knowing when to put that filter over the opening of the jar. Just like you put a filter so you only get you only get what you want into that jar, because our young people these days are bombarded. Their jar is wide open
Oh,
when
yes.
they're, on social media, and all this stuff is poured into the jar. So conceivably, we need to help our young people to apply a filter. So there's only those things that really they can benefit from that are coming into that jar. Otherwise, that jar starts to get overflowing with nonsense.
Exactly. And I tell you that when it comes to that jar, well, you got to have some things that are good and some things are pretty when it comes to learning pretty. But some things could get so ugly that it'll make a freight train take a dirt road. So you got to remember what is out there. And if you're able to learn from it, whether you want the filter or you don't want the filter, as long as you learn from it and it actually makes you better instead of bitter, then guess what? You already won.
That's right. Absolutely. So we are winding down to our half an hour mark. I could talk to you for another half an hour. So who knows? When I go into my second season, I might bring you back to talk about something else that's really key. And the wheels are turning here. So, what I'm hearing right now is that you are not intimidated by any rooms at this particular point, but you've moved from being here to establishing yourself to become less intimidated. We have learned so much from your lessons and your metaphors and your visuals. So I appreciate you so much. Is there anything that you want to share with your happy people out there before we close?
I will share with happy people is, as I mentioned before, dare to stink. There'll be those times where we'll fall. We may fall on our head, we may fall on our rear ends, we may fall on our feet, we may fall on our hands, we may fall on any type of our body. The key thing is, after we fall, what are we going to do? Are we going to stay down or are we going to get up? And my suggestion is, no matter where you fall, if you're able to stand up and go forward, then you are stronger than you think. So any type of fall that can happen for you, it happens. It happens to me, even to this day. So anytime I take a fall, I get up. So I will advise you that anytime you take a fall, get up and keep going and keep moving forward. That is where your true power lies, happy people.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for your words of resilience and reminding us that just being present and just being able to get up is just so powerful. And even in the quiet moments. And to our listeners, you don't have to dominate the room that you belong in. Just be present and be powerful. So we've come to the end of Breaking the Silence, Finding the Courage to be Heard, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Thank you so much, Jesse.
Thank you, and you take care, and I share this heart with you, happy people.
Bye-bye.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.